Growing up, it was just Dad and me in our modest house on Oak Street. Mom passed away when I was just 5, leaving Dad to raise me alone. He did an amazing job working long hours at his construction company while still making time to attend my soccer games and help with homework. We weren't rich, but we were happy. That all changed when I turned 16 and Dad met Sarah at a business conference. She seemed nice enough at first, always complimenting Dad's achievements and showing interest in his work. Within 6 months, they were married. I tried to be happy for Dad, but something about Sarah never felt quite right. "Emily, sweetie, you'll see, we'll be one big happy family," Sarah would say, her smile never quite reaching her eyes. I nodded politely but kept my distance. My gut instinct told me she was more interested in Dad's growing construction empire than in building a real family. You see, over the years, Dad had turned his small construction business into something remarkable. What started as a one-man operation now employed over 200 people, with contracts across 3 states. Conservative estimates valued the company at around $40 million, but that wasn't all. Dad had invested wisely in real estate, accumulating a portfolio of commercial properties worth another $25 million. Sarah's behavior changed subtly after the wedding. She began suggesting that Dad work less, take more vacations, and enjoy life. On the surface, it seemed caring, but I noticed how she always steered him toward expensive purchases and risky investments. Dad, blinded by love, didn't see what I saw. "Your father deserves to relax after working so hard," she'd say whenever I expressed concern about her excessive spending of Dad's money. "You're just jealous because you're not the only woman in his life anymore." I was 24 and working as a financial analyst when Dad first showed signs of illness. It started with small things, forgetting appointments, misplacing his keys, struggling with simple calculations. The diagnosis came as a shock: early onset Alzheimer's. He was only 52. The day after his diagnosis, Dad called me to his study. His hands trembled slightly as he handed me a sealed envelope. "Emily, keep this safe," he said, his voice unusually serious. "Don't open it unless something happens to me. Sarah, she's not who I thought she was. I've made arrangements to protect what I built for you." I wanted to ask more questions, but his expression told me this wasn't the time. I tucked the envelope into my bag, promising to keep it secure. That was the last lucid conversation I had with my father. Over the next 2 years, I watched helplessly as Dad's condition deteriorated. Sarah took control of everything: his medical care, his business decisions, even limiting my visits. She claimed it was for his own good, but I knew better. She was isolating him, and there was nothing I could legally do about it. "Your father doesn't want to see you today, Emily," became her constant refrain. "The excitement isn't good for his condition." I tried fighting back through legal channels, but Sarah had been clever. She had convinced Dad to sign over power of attorney to her before his condition became severe enough for anyone to challenge his competency. The lawyers I consulted all said the same thing: without proof of coercion, there was nothing they could do. Then came the call I had been dreading. Dad had passed away in his sleep. Sarah handled all the funeral arrangements, barely consulting me. She even tried to schedule it when I would be away at a conference, but I rearranged my entire schedule to be there. The funeral service was elaborate, much more showy than anything Dad would have wanted. Sarah had invited hundreds of people, many of whom I'd never seen before: business associates, social climbers, and what seemed like every wealthy person in town. Dad would have hated it. I sat in the front row, the envelope he'd given me 2 years ago feeling heavy in my jacket pocket. Throughout the service, I noticed Sarah whispering with her lawyer, both of them occasionally glancing in my direction with smug expressions. As the service concluded, Sarah stepped up to the podium. She dabbed at her eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief, putting on quite a show. "Before we conclude this beautiful service for my beloved husband," she announced, her voice trembling perfectly, "there's an important matter to address. As you all know, James was a brilliant businessman who built an empire from nothing. In his final months, he made some important decisions about his legacy." She paused for effect, making eye contact with various influential people in the crowd. 2 weeks ago, James signed a new will, leaving everything: the company, the properties, all assets, to me, his devoted wife, to manage as I see fit. A murmur went through the crowd. Several of Dad's oldest business partners looked uncomfortable. They knew Dad had always planned to keep the company in the family. "I know this may come as a surprise to some," Sarah continued, looking directly at me with barely concealed triumph, "but James understood that I was best positioned to continue his legacy. His daughter Emily, while dear to him, lacks the experience and business acumen to manage such vast holdings. That was my cue. I stood up slowly, my hand touching the envelope in my pocket. Funny you should mention Dad's wishes, I said, my voice clear and steady. He gave me this envelope last week. Sarah's face twitched slightly. That's impossible. James was barely conscious in his final weeks. He couldn't even recognize people. I pulled out the envelope. Its seal still intact. This was from 2 years ago, right after his diagnosis, when he was still very much aware of everything and everyone around him. Sarah's lawyer stepped forward. Any document from that long ago would be superseded by the recent will. This is just a desperate attempt to. To what? I interrupted, breaking the seal. To reveal the truth? Because that's exactly what this is. I pulled out several documents, along with a USB drive and a letter in Dad's handwriting. Dad gave me this envelope because he knew exactly what would happen. He knew you would try to take everything, Sarah. That's why he made arrangements long before you could take advantage of his condition. Sarah's confident smile faltered slightly. Whatever that is, it doesn't matter. I have a legally executed will, signed and witnessed just 2 weeks ago. I handed the documents to Dad's longtime friend and attorney, Michael Patterson, who had been sitting quietly in the second row. Mr. Patterson, would you please read Dad's letter to the assembled guests? Michael stood up, adjusted his glasses, and began reading. My dearest Emily. If you're reading this, then my fears about Sarah have proven correct. I'm sorry I didn't listen to your concerns earlier, but I've taken steps to protect our family's legacy. 3 months ago, I transferred ownership of the company and all major assets into an irrevocable trust, with you as the sole beneficiary. Sarah knows nothing about this. The USB drive contains video documentation of me making this decision of sound mind, along with evidence of Sarah's attempts to manipulate my finances. The trust becomes active upon my death, and no subsequent will can override it. I've also included documentation of Sarah's previous marriages, all 3 of them each ending with the mysterious death or incapacitation of her wealthy husbands. I'm sorry I won't be there to see you take the reins of the company. I know you'll make me proud. Love, Dad. The silence in the church was deafening. Sarah's face had gone from pale to ashen. Her lawyer was frantically flipping through the documents Michael had handed him. This is impossible, Sarah stammered. You're making this up. That letter could be forged. I nodded to Michael, who connected the USB drive to his laptop and projected its contents onto the church's presentation screen. There was Dad, looking healthy and clear-headed, explicitly stating his decisions and reasons. I, James William Anderson, being of sound mind, hereby transfer all business assets and properties into the Emily Anderson Trust. Dad's voice rang out clearly through the church speakers. I make this decision due to concerning behavior from my current wife, Sarah Anderson, whom I believe married me with fraudulent intentions. The video continued, showing Dad presenting evidence of Sarah's suspicious financial activities and documentation of her previous marriages. The congregation watched in stunned silence as the truth unfolded. Sarah's lawyer quietly gathered his papers and slipped out of the church. Sarah herself stood frozen at the podium, her carefully constructed facade crumbling. You can't do this, she whispered, but her voice lacked conviction. I spent 2 years working on this plan. Did you just admit to planning this for 2 years? I asked loudly, making sure everyone heard, including the time when Dad was still healthy? Sarah's eyes widened as she realized her mistake. Without another word, she grabbed her designer handbag and rushed toward the exit. But 2 police officers were already waiting there. I had made sure law enforcement was present when the truth came out. Sarah Anderson, one officer announced, we have some questions about the deaths of your previous husbands. As Sarah was led away, Dad's closest business partner, Tom Jenkins, approached me. Your father was a smart man, he said, squeezing my shoulder. He knew exactly what he was doing when he put you in charge. That financial analyst brain of yours combined with his teachings, the company couldn't be in better hands. The following weeks were a whirlwind of activity. Sarah was charged with multiple counts of fraud and was under investigation for the suspicious deaths of her previous husbands. Her recent will was invalidated, and the trust Dad had established was confirmed as legally binding. Taking control of Dad's company was challenging but exciting. I discovered I had a natural talent for business leadership. Just as Dad had predicted, the employees respected me, many having watched me grow up visiting the construction sites with Dad. 1 year later, I stood in front of Dad's grave, placing fresh flowers by his headstone. You saw right through her, Dad, I said softly, and you made sure she couldn't win. The company's doing great, we just landed the biggest contract in our history. I wish you could see it. A gentle breeze rustled the leaves overhead, and I could almost hear Dad's proud laughter. He had built his empire from nothing, protected it from those who would steal it, and ensured it would continue to thrive in the right hands. As I walked back to my car, my phone buzzed with a news alert. Sarah had been convicted of first-degree murder in the death of her second husband. She would be spending the rest of her life in prison, and investigations into her other marriages were ongoing. I smiled, thinking of the sealed envelope Dad had given me that day in his study. He had known exactly what he was doing, protecting not just his legacy, but ensuring justice would eventually catch up with Sarah. His final gift to me wasn't just the company, it was the truth that set everything right. The construction company continues to grow under my leadership. We've expanded into sustainable building practices, something Dad had always wanted to explore. Every major decision I make, I think about what Dad would do, and somehow, I always know the right answer. Sarah's story became a cautionary tale in our business community about greed and deception, but for me, it's a reminder of Dad's wisdom and foresight. He may have been taken from us too soon, but his legacy lives on, stronger than ever. Sometimes, when I'm working late in what used to be Dad's office, I look at his photo on the wall and smile. We did it, Dad, I whisper. We protected everything you built, and we're making it even better. The envelope he gave me that day sits framed on my office wall, a reminder that sometimes the best defense against deception is simply being prepared with the truth. Dad taught me that, along with so many other lessons I carry with me every day. As for Sarah's lawyer, he was disbarred for his role in helping her create the fraudulent will. Many of the social climbers who had cozied up to Sarah quickly distanced themselves, not wanting to be associated with her crimes. The truth has a way of revealing everyone's true colors. Dad's legacy continues to grow. The Emily Anderson Foundation, which I established in his memory, provides scholarships for young entrepreneurs and supports research into early-onset Alzheimer's treatment. Something good came out of even the darkest parts of our story. Looking back, I realized that Dad's greatest gift wasn't the company or the properties, it was the lesson that integrity and foresight are the best weapons against those who would try to take what isn't theirs. Sarah thought she had orchestrated the perfect plan, but she never counted on Dad being several steps ahead of her, even from beyond the grave. The story of the envelope at Dad's funeral has become something of a legend in our business circles. People often ask me if I was nervous, standing up to Sarah in front of all those people. The truth is, I wasn't nervous at all. I had Dad's truth in my pocket, and that was all the courage I needed. Every year, on Dad's birthday, I gather the company's employees for a special celebration. We share stories about him, about his integrity and vision, and how he built something remarkable from nothing. The old-timers love telling newer employees about the day at the funeral when Sarah's schemes came crashing down. Your dad would be so proud, they often tell me. I know they're right. Everything I do, every success we achieve, is a tribute to his legacy. He taught me that success isn't just about making money, it's about doing things the right way, about protecting what matters, and about being smart enough to see through people like Sarah. The construction company now employs over 500 people, and we're known as one of the most ethical and innovative firms in the industry. Dad's vision of building not just structures, but a legacy of integrity, lives on through every project we complete. Sarah's story serves as a reminder that karma eventually catches up with those who try to profit from deception. She thought she had orchestrated the perfect plan, but she never understood that true legacy isn't about money or power, it's about the principles you live by and the truth you leave behind. Dad knew that. He knew that the best defense against someone like Sarah wasn't just legal documents or video evidence, it was raising a daughter who would understand the value of truth and have the courage to stand up for what's right. That sealed envelope wasn't just a collection of documents, it was Dad's final lesson to me about trust, integrity, and the importance of being prepared. It was his way of showing me that sometimes the quietest person in the room can be the one holding all the cards. Every morning when I walk into the office, I pass by Dad's photo and touch the framed envelope on my wall. Thanks, Dad, I whisper, for everything. And somewhere, I know he's smiling, proud that his legacy ended up exactly where it belonged.